Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Q. Today we'll do a quick review about market demand, supply, and market equilibrium. In this session, you're expected to be able to explain the laws of demand supply and be able to name the determinants to change demand supply and therefore cause demand supply curve to shift. And we will calculate consumer surplus and producer surplus and do social welfare analysis. Then we will further explain how price is discovered in a competitive market by the interaction of demand and supply. And when there is a change on demand, some of those determinants of demand change, therefore demand change, how will that influence market equilibrium? And how does the change of supply influence market equilibrium? We'll talk about the exercise taxes, add a valorem tax, price floor, price ceiling, those government interventions effect on market equilibrium, market price and quantity. In the end, we'll do both demand and supply change simultaneously and have understanding about this complicated situation. In this chapter, our goal is to figure out whenever price change, whenever demand or supply change, therefore price change, how will that influence the quantity in equilibrium, increase or decrease? We see the direction, which is the quality change, as opposed to quantity, like a change by how much. For changing by how much, we'll discuss in next session in elasticity part. So in principles of economics, you should have learned that market demand curve is graphical expression illustrating a relationship. Relationship means there are at least two variables. And here it refers to the quantity and the price per unit of a good. And so it illustrates at a certain price how many units the consumers are willing and able to purchase, or at certain limited quantity, the price the consumers are willing to pay. Holding other variables constant, holding other influencing factors like income, preference, those factors constant. Now, then law of demand just describe the relationship. Whenever price increase, the amount consumers are willing and able to purchase decrease, expensive purchase less. Whenever price of products goes down, falls, decrease, the people can afford more, and more people can afford the products. Therefore, the quantity demanded increase. So this is a buy low part. In law of supply, we'll talk about sell high. Okay, this is law of demand. Price and quantity demanded move to opposite direction. There's an inverse relationship between the two of them. And graphically, we say at a certain price, whenever price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. So the vertical axis represents price, it goes down. Horizontal axis represents quantity demanded, measuring in thousands per year. Increase move to the right-hand side away from the origin. So price goes down towards the origin, quantity demand increase move away from origin, and there's an inverse relationship. If we draw a smooth line linking all those price and quantity demanded combinations. Now I want to emphasize the difference between change in quantity demanded and change in demand. Quantity demanded is a quantity, is a number you can find on horizontal axis. The demand is a relationship. It's a whole graphical expression is demand. All the price quantity combination is demand. Change in quantity demanded is a result of a price change. Changing only in price leads to the change in quantity demanded. Graphical expression will be movement along the same curve. So for example, from point A to point B, price, we can say a decrease, therefore quantity increase. So price decrease, quantity demanded increase. Price increase from B to A, quantity demanded decrease. Price of the product only change, quantity change. So we can find the value change on the horizontal axis, quantity change. But if something else change other than price change, it will lead to a change in demand. Graphically, if there's some determinant resulting increase in demand, means at every single price level, the quantity demanded increase, the whole curve shift to the right-hand side. That's the meaning of increase in demand. And if something resulting in a decrease in demand means at every single price level, the quantity demanded decrease, move to the left-hand side. The whole demand relationship does not hold anymore. Instead, move to a new location here, move to the left-hand side. Now, this is a review of the demand shifters or determinants of demand. If it's normal good, income increase, demand increase, inferior goods decrease. For the price of a substitute goods increase, the demand of product increase, like price of Coca-Cola increase, demand for Pepsi increase. Complementary goods for price of the complementary goods increase, demand for the product decrease. And advertisement promotes awareness of products. People like it, and consumer like it. Consumer prefer products. A thing getting popular, demand increase. Higher population resulting in higher amount of consumers, demand increase, and consumers' expectation in price also increase current demand. For example, if you heard that the oil pipe over Alabama broke, therefore the gas price is likely to increase next week. Even though the price doesn't change right now, people are likely to go out to top up their tank so that they pay a lower price as opposed to a higher price next week. So demand for now increase. Please watch my related materials on demand to review. There's a detailed discussion in that session of video. So here's an example. If there's a persuasive advertisement that promotes awareness of the clothes, and people think, oh, this style clothes really popular, and we really like it. Therefore, at every single price level, for example, at $40, originally people purchased 50,000. Now people purchase 60,000. This is true at $50. Originally, people purchase at this level about 30,000. Now they purchase 50,000, and this is true everywhere, resulting in an increase in demand. The demand curve shift to right-hand side. It does not need necessarily to be parallel to previous one. Most of the time it's not, but it's just true that at every single price level within the range, the quantity demanded increase. Now we like to talk about a mathematical expression of the demand function. This part you probably didn't come across this part in your principles of micro. The demand function for a good X represent any product. It could be clothes, could be furniture, could be electricity, could be shoes, could be anything, books, flight tickets. For a good or product or service X is a mathematical representation describing how many units will be purchased at different price for X, price of X, and all the other influencing factors, for example, price of related goods Y, income, preference, persuasive advertisement, so on and so forth. Now, the simplest one, the mathematical expression for demand function will be the linear demand function. Linear demand means holding all the other variables fixed, just focus on one variable, the slope of this variable and the dependent variable. For example, price of X and quantity of X. The slope is a constant number. Slope doesn't change. And every component are added as a summation. Quantity demanded for product X is number of units purchased demanded. Then alpha 0 is a vertical intercept, constant number. Then plus alpha X is a constant number, coefficient in front of price of X, plus alpha Y, coefficient in front of price of related products Y, plus alpha M, the coefficient in front of income, and alpha H is a coefficient for the value of any other related variables affecting demand. Now, why do we care about this linear demand relationship? Because in economics, we really care about the marginal thing, the marginal change. We do marginal analysis. This mathematical expression, the coefficient, provides us the information that whenever the variable of interest, for example, price of X, increases by 1 unit, marginal analysis 1 more. So change from price X to price of X plus $1. How does the quantity demanded change for product X? Now, this is the original mathematical expression. The new one is expressed by everything's the same. The change will be price of X plus 1. Then we split the parentheses. We can say the change is alpha X. So alpha X, the coefficient, gives us that marginal effect of variable interest. Price of X increased by 1. Quantity demanded for X increased by alpha X. We can also do that by our review on taking derivative in previous video. The marginal analysis, what is the marginal effect of price X on quantity demanded for X? Taking derivative, it is alpha X. What about price Y? Alpha Y, M, alpha M, and H, alpha H will take derivative. And this mathematical expression is important because the coefficients, signs, and the magnitudes tell us the impact of each variable on the quantity demanded of X. Uh, the sign tells us their relationship positive or inverse negative. Magnitude tells us economic impact is big or small. Generally speaking, alpha M in front of an income is negative because alpha X in front of a price X coefficient is negative because law of demand. Price of product increase, people purchase less because it's more expensive. Then alpha Y depends on what type of related products. If it's a substitutes, alpha Y is positive. Price of a Coca-Cola increase that will push consumers originally from purchasing Coca-Cola on to purchasing now relatively cheaper Pepsi, so demand for Pepsi increase. That's for substitutes. But if it were complements, alpha Y would be smaller than zero. Um, for example, fossil fuel cars price decrease. People purchase more fossil fuel cars, then demand for gasoline will increase because people demand more gasoline for their fossil fuel cars. The alpha M in front of income is positive if it's normal goods and is negative if it's inferior goods. And if you forgot, you can come back to the demand shifters to remind yourself the sign, what the signs means for each demand shifter, each determinants. Now here's practice. Now there is an economic consultant for X Corporation. Recently provide the firm's marketing manager with the estimate of the demand function for the firm's product. We can say the quantity demanded for X equals a constant number vertical intercept of 12,000 and minus 3 price of X is because the law of demand is negative plus 4 price of Y. So whenever price Y increase, that will increase the quantity demanded for X minus income. So income increase, quantity demanded for X decrease plus 2AX. AX can be something like a commercial's advertisement. The question asks you how many of good X will consumers purchase whenever price is 200. Price of X is 200, price of Y is 15, income 10,000, and advertisements 2,000. This is actually pretty straightforward. You simply need to plug those numbers into the equation and figure out. This is the answer to that. Now, this question asks you, are goods X and Y substitutes or complements? Pause and think and come back. All right, so price of Y increase. That will increase quantity demanded for X. They are substitutes, just like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Now, is X a normal or an inferior good? Normal goods means income and demand move to the same direction. Your income is higher, you purchase more of the products. If income increase, you purchase less of the products, means those products are too cheap to fall into your purchasing consideration. They're inferior goods to you. Okay. And we can see the sign in front of it is negative. Therefore, X is inferior good. Now, I like to review the inverse demand function. Assuming that we know the price of Y, we know income, we know advertisement, we want to focus on the relationship of price of X and quantity demanded for X, then we can rewrite this function as the following. What we want to do next, we know for a fact that price is the independent variable and the quantity demanded is the dependent variable. Price change and therefore quantity demanded change. Now we want to rewrite this equation by moving the price of X to the left-hand side and quantity demanded of X to the right-hand side and normalize and leave price of X to the left-hand side by itself. So we move this part to the left-hand side and we move the quantity demanded to the right-hand side. Then we normalize everywhere by 3, divide everywhere by 3. This is divided by 3, and this divided by 3. We got this part. And this is called the inverse demand function. Inverse demand function. Why is this helpful? It's helpful because we can easily construct a graphical expression from it. We know that conventionally economists like to put dollar signs or price on the vertical axis and the quantity on right hand side on the horizontal left hand side on the horizontal axis, even though quantity demanded is dependent variable and the price is independent variable. So because of that, we can easily construct our demand graphical expression from this inverse demand function. So price on vertical axis, vertical intercept is 2020, and the slope is negative 1/3, negative 1/3. So it crosses horizontal axis at 60, 60. So 2020 over 60 is 1/3 and it's negative. That's why we sometimes construct inverse demand function. And also helpful for us to calculate the consumer surplus. Why do we care about the consumer surplus in managerial economics? Because as a manager, you need to know how much the consumers value your products. If consumers value your products differently at different quantity available out there, you might be able to practice nonlinear pricing, such as price discrimination. Now, in order to figure out consumer surplus, there are another two terms. One is total consumer value. It is the sum of the maximum amount consumers are willing to pay at different quantity, which is highlighted by this trapezoid area. Remember, demand curve means at every single price level, there is a quantity demanded. Alternatively, at a certain limited quantity, let's say there's only 2 units out there, consumers are willing to pay this much. At 1 unit, consumers are willing to pay $4. At half, consumers are willing to pay $4.50. So this, for example, if the equilibrium price is $3 and the quantity is 2, the consumer's willingness to pay for this area is actually this trapezoid area. At a very small amount of products available, consumers' willingness to pay is very high. Then it's going down whenever products getting more abundant, and it stops at here because this is the equilibrium price and quantity. Consumers want to purchase more at a lower price down here, but those products are not offered because equilibrium price is 3. Those consumers who want to purchase these products cannot afford one. They want to pay a lower price, but not $3. So this trapezoid area is total consumer value. The second one is total expenditure. It's per unit market price times the number of units consumed. So even though at one unit of products consumer willingness to pay is 4, but they end up paying 3 because this universal pricing is now, because it's not like a price discrimination we discussed later. First unit charge you $4, second unit charge you $3. No, you go out to buy a box of strawberries at the farmer's market. Generally speaking, no matter how many units you purchase, it's $3. So the amount consumers end up paying is 3 multiplied 2, which is $6. Then the leftover is the consumer surplus, the difference between the value, total consumer value, and expenditure. That's the area we can calculate this consumer surplus by the calculating the area of a triangle, which is the height 2 multiplied base 2 divided by 2, which is $2. So consumer surplus is extra value that consumer derive from a good but do not pay extra for. Now, let's switch on to the other side of the market, which is the supply. Market supply is a curve, graphical expression that indicate the total quantity of a good that all producers in a competitive market are willing to produce at each price level, holding other variables unchanged, such as input price, technology. Alternatively, at every single product level all consumers produce, the price willingness to accept, willing to be accepted by the suppliers. Then the law of supply is sell high part. Law of demand buy low. Law of supply sell high. Means price and quantity supplied move to the same direction. Price increase, quantity supply increase. Price decrease, quantity supply decrease. Might be a bit of abstract for you to imagine that, but um, give you intuition. Uh, when do you supply? So, for example, whenever you graduate, you're on job market, you're supplying labor. For two jobs, same working conditions, same working environment, same career path, same distance to your family, same everything, but one job offer you $5,000 more than the other job annually. And more than likely, people will pick the job who pay better. So the higher the price, the more likely to attract the producers or resource onto uh, their products production or onto their products onto the service production. Whenever a product's getting popular, price is well received, consumers are willing to pay higher price go up. That is likely to drive all the economic resource onto this industry and produce more. So price increase, quantity supplied increase. But whenever a thing is getting less popular or there's a better substitute, consumers don't care for a more price decrease, that will discourage the producers from producing the product and will push the economic resource away from to other industries. Therefore, the quantity supply decrease. So that's the rationale of law of supply. Now I want to emphasize the difference between change in quantity supplied and change in supply. Again, changing only price leads to changes in quantity supplied. It is a movement along the same curve. Supply curve doesn't change, price increase, quantity supplied increase, price decrease, quantity supplied decrease. But if any other factors other than price change, that will lead to a whole supply relationship change. Original or supply relationship does not hold anymore. If there's a shock, move the supply to increase the supply, then supply curve shift to right hand side. Means at every single price level, quantity at every single price level, quantity supplied increase. At every single price level, quantity demand increase. This is true everywhere. That's the meaning of supply increase. It does not mean that we have two supply curves simultaneous, means original one doesn't hold anymore. Move to a new location. For the convenience of comparison, we have both of them there. If anything happen, result a decrease in supply, the supply curve shifts left-hand side. Now here's a review for all the determinants of a supply, therefore supply curve shifters. First one, input price. So for all the products, they have to employ some input to produce output for sale. Input price increase is not good for producers. It means it is more costly to produce the same products. For example, we produce chocolate. We hire people. We use a machine. We use cocoa beans. Cocoa beans, the most essential input for producing chocolate. We use milk. We use butter. We use sugar. All of those products. And we have to distribute the products. Transportation. Let's say input price increase. Cocoa bean getting more expensive. So for the same unit of chocolate, the chocolate producer has to pay more for the same amount of cocoa beans. So it costs them more to produce the same chocolate. Um, they will not bear this higher cost themselves. They will pass this on to final consumers by charging a higher price. So for the same product, they will increase price. So supply decrease, shift left hand side. So for the same product, originally they are charging consumers this amount of price. Now, because of cocoa beans getting more expensive, it's more expensive, so they charge consumer higher price. Graphically, we can say, and this is true everywhere. Originally, this price, now they charge a higher price. So supply curve shift left hand side. This is also true for minimum wage. Producers hire workers to work. They have to pay workers for the production. Whenever workers demand a higher pay, means it costs them more to produce the same products. Again, they will pass this higher cost on to final consumers by charging higher price. Technology, of course, is a positive shock. Generally speaking, technology make our production life easier, more efficiently, and cheaper. Government regulation depends, but generally speaking, whenever the regulation means it's more costly for production, number of firms, more firms producing the products for the same price, higher quantity is produced. So supply increase, the exit will decrease the supply of market. Price of substitute goods in production. What's the meaning of a substitute in production? It has to be two goods for the same producer, for the same resource, they can produce either A or B. That's the meaning of substitutes in production. So Pepsi and Coca-Cola are substitutes in consumption, but not substitutes in production because they're not produced by the same firm. They're produced by two rival firms. Example will be Apple company producing iPad and iPad Air, similar products using same resource producer producing either iPad or iPad Air. Whenever price of iPad Air increase because it's popular, people like iPad Air a lot, that will drive the Apple company to switch the resource originally producing iPad now onto producing iPad Air. Therefore, supply for iPad decrease. Other example will be price of complements in production. I discussed that in supply, video supply. Please review that video, but provide you a quick talk. What is complements in production? That means at one production process by the same producer, it simultaneously produce two products, like byproducts. Um, like whenever you produce donut holes, you simultaneously produce the small donut balls. Um, or for a cattle farmer, it produce beef and simultaneously produce leather or hide. Whenever beef is getting popular, beef price increase, that is likely to drive the cattle farmer to, unfortunately, kill more cow and get generate more beef and simultaneously increase the supply for leather or hide. Then there are tax is definitely bad for generally speaking for everything. It's negative shock. It increased the cost of production. For the same products now you're producing, you have to pay the government a certain amount of money. Um, there are two types of taxes. The first one is excise tax. It is fixed amount on each unit of output sold, and tax revenue is collected from the supplier or producer. The second type is very popular as a sales tax called ad valorem tax. It's percentage tax. Like in North Carolina, the sales tax charged to consumers about 7%. And lastly, producers' expectation is a more complicated situation. And please check on the video for supply. I have a detailed discussion about that part. Now, the first type of tax, which is excise tax, is also called the per unit tax. So, for example, is 20 cents. No matter what level, every unit is charged 20 cents. You purchase 100 unit, you produce 100 units, is 20 cents per unit. You produce 1 unit per unit, tax is 20 cents. It doesn't change based upon the quantity of gasoline per week. So you can just imagine the whole supply curve shift left hand side, uh, and by how much the vertical value is 20 cents. The second type of tax is very popular. It's called percentage. It changes based upon the value. It's a progressive tax. So by for $10, the quantity supplied, for example, is backpacks per week is 1,100. 20 is $20. The quantity supplied is 24.50. And if we charge 20% of sales tax, then the monetary value is different whenever you're selling 1,100 or selling at 2,450. Is the monetary value of the products multiply 20%. So we can see the supply curve shift left hand side, but the two of them are not parallel to each other. uh, the gap is getting larger whenever the product's sale is getting higher. So at $10, 20 cents, 20% more will be $12. At $20, 20% more will be $24. So the difference here from 10 to 12 is $2. Here, 20 to 24 is $4. The absolute value increase even though the percentage is the same. Then the supply function is a mathematical expression of product X. X represents any product or service, describing how many units will be produced at alternative price of X, and all the other influencing factors like input prices of W, alternate value of other variables that affect the supply. Now, here's an example. This is a simple, very useful mathematical expression for supply function, and it is linear. Left-hand side is a quantity, and here is a quantity supplied as subscription S represents supplied for any product X. It is equal to expression of beta 0, which is a vertical intercept, a constant number, plus coefficient of beta x, multiply price of x, this is the most essential part, plus beta w, price of an input, for example, multiply price of input of the product, plus beta r, multiply price of technologically related products. Maybe substitutes, production substitutes, substitutes in production or complements in production, and the age value of any other variables affecting supply. Then again, the coefficient matters. The sign tells us the quality, which means the variable of interest and the quantity supplied. Their relationship is positive, then sign is positive, negative, then sign is negative. And the magnitude, like how big those betas are. Generally speaking, beta x in front of price of x is positive because of law of supply. Buy low, sell high, price is getting higher, more likely to attract resource on to produce this product's quantity supplied increase. Price getting lower discourage resource and quantity supply decrease. If input price increase, that is a negative shock, means it's more costly to produce the same products. Therefore, generally speaking, beta W in front of the input price is negative. For related products, if it's about the technology improvement, then beta R is positive. Technology improvement make our production easier for the same level of resource or effort is easier to produce. Therefore, there's a positive shock. Now here's a question. Please pause and come back for the answer. It give you a mathematical expression of televisions. Television says it is equal to a constant number, 2000 plus 3, multiply price of x, minus 4, multiply price of resource input, r resource input, minus PW. PW here, generally speaking, is input price, PR depends if it's related products, what type of related products. Now I ask you how many televisions are produced whenever price of X is 400, price of related products 100, and the input price 2000. Please pause and come back for the answer. Then again, we simply plug those numbers into the mathematical expression, and we got the answer that the TV sets produced is 800. Now we can also figure out inverse supply function. Here, giving the price of input and the price of related goods, and only focus on price of product X and the quantity supplied for X, we can rewrite this as the following. What we do again is leave the price of X by itself. So Q X, move the 400 to left hand side. Then price of X by itself. And we normalize everywhere by dividing 3. Then we can see price of X is 400 over 3 plus a third of a quantity of X. This is called the inverse supply function. This is convenient whenever we try to figure out or construct a market supply curve. Now, the producer here we can just see this vertical intercept is 400 over 3, and its slope is a third. Slope is a third. You can see the rise over run. So if we change from this point to this point, the vertical change is 400 minus 400 divided by 3. So it is 2 over 3 and multiply 400. This is vertical change divided by horizontal change, which is 800. So 2 multiply 400, 800, 800. So the slope is a third. Now we want to talk about the producer surplus. Producer surplus is the amount producers receive in excess of the amount necessary to induce them to produce the good. So we need a supply curve. For example, if the market equilibrium price and the quantity is 400 and 800, $400, 800 units. This is equilibrium. We can say at every single quantity, at every single limited quantity, the willingness to accept is there's a corresponding monetary value on supply curve. So at every single limited quantity, the willingness to accept is this value. But how much the producers end up getting? They end up getting 400. So the difference is the surplus they're getting. Okay. Therefore, the producer surplus is this triangle. Below price, enclosed by supply curve and a vertical axis, this triangle. And we can calculate it again by calculating the area of a triangle, height over base divided by 2. After learning demand and supply, finally they meet each other in a competitive market. And the interaction of the two can provide us a market equilibrium. Price is discovered there whenever there's no surplus, no shortage, that is at equilibrium price and quantity. It is also called the market clearing point. If there are forces drive market demand change or market supply change, then that will lead to a new market equilibrium. I want to say market equilibrium, we can say based upon principles of micro, demand, supply cross each other, this is equilibrium. But please note that market equilibrium is not achieved overnight. It's a dynamic situation. The market demand supply will force the price equilibrium go to this crossing point, but it may never achieve that because the demand changing and supply changing. And it's not achieved overnight. So for example, if the sellers mispredict the market and charge their products too high, they say, I want to charge my beef at this price, filet mignon this price. I can say at this such a high price, on demand curve, we can see how much the consumers are willing to buy. At such a high price, consumers are want to buy Q0, very limited amount. But at such a high price, the sellers are willing to produce a lot, at Q1. So there is a gap between quantity supplied and quantity demanded. So there are too many beef filet mignon out there in the market, resulting in a surplus. A surplus tells the sellers that I have too many filet mignon and sold there, and they're going bad. They receive the signal that probably my products are overpriced. So they do adjustment to charge a low price. And low price, we can say at such a low price, sellers at such a low price are discouraged. They don't want to produce more. Or they don't want to produce many. They want to produce on Q0. So PL on supply curve give us Q0. But at such a low price, consumers are very happy. Filet mignon is very affordable. A lot of people can afford, so they purchase a lot. A lot of people want to purchase, but not many filet mignon available out there, resulting in a gap called a shortage. Shortage will send the signal to the sellers that their filet mignon probably underpriced. So eventually, after rounds of this figure, discoveries, eventually figure out, okay, price equilibrium, PE equilibrium price over here is good. Here, quantity supplied, it happens to be equal to quantity demanded, and there's no surplus, no shortage. Then mathematically, we can discover the equilibrium by equating, making the quantity demanded equal quantity supplied. This mathematical expression, this part, quantity demanded, equals quantity supplied. By solving this equation, we can figure out equilibrium price is 2, and plug this 2 to any function to quantity demanded or to quantity supplied. We can figure out the equilibrium quantity, which is 6 units. Now, market is fine by itself, clearing itself, but market will be intervened whenever there's government intervention, government regulation. Sometimes a government restricts how much prices are permitted to rise or fall. Why do they do that? Well, they're doing this out of good intention. So for example, there are two types. Price ceiling means there's an upper cap, so you cannot go anywhere higher than that. There's limit they set of how much the price can rise. You can go anywhere below, but you cannot go anywhere above this cap. So that's the meaning of a ceiling. Within a limited space, this is the highest value you can go. They're doing this cap to out of good intention to help poor consumers. They think at certain circumstances consumers are underrepresented. They want to. A lot of consumers want to purchase the products but cannot afford market equilibrium price. So they mandatorily push the price lower than what it is. They help consumers. Example, I discussed this in my ceiling price floor session. I want you to review. Examples will be like in pandemic, they set a cap for hand sanitizer, for masks, those regulations. Um, what they will do is simply generate a long-term shortage, push the price. So equilibrium price supposed to be here. The government step in and say, no, you cannot go PEP is too high for consumers. There's some type of price gorging. It's not really price gorging, it's just simply because limited supply and high demand result in such a high price. Price setting is set up so you cannot go anywhere above at such a low price a lot of consumers can afford. Not many producers want to produce, therefore resulting in a shortage. Another example will be like rent control. Rent control is very popular in big city like New York, in North Carolina, like a big city like city area like Winston-Salem or Charlotte downtown. They have rent control. Rent control means that the landlord cannot charge their rent higher than a certain level, because they say a lot of low-income people want to live in downtown to enjoy the convenience, amenity, and close um, location to their work. They cannot afford such a high rent. You cannot. So, for example, one bedroom apartment in New York City downtown is about supposed to be $6,000, and they say you cannot charge $6,000. You can only charge like $2,000. Then a lot of people will be able to afford it, and the problem is there will be not enough apartment unit, and there will be like a years long waiting list, shortage. Just wait. It's not rationed by price, it's rationed by time. Just be there forever on the waiting list. Another problem that will be the landlord is not paid fairly. They are supposed to be paid $6,000 according to equilibrium price. However, they'll now only pay $2,000. They're discouraged to offer their unit as apartment renting. They will figure out other way to convert it to office or sell it or just abandon it, um, like a maintenance, um, because they're not paid right amount. And the quantity supply is even lower and making this shortage even worse. Um, so this shortage is exacerbated. Um, and Here I want to introduce a term called non-pecuniary price. So what's that mean? Means at this situation, um, at such a low price setting PC, the quantity supplied is limited to QS. At limited quantity, what is the full price the consumers actually are willing to pay? They actually are willing to pay at PF. That's a full price the consumers are willing to pay at QS, limited quantity. How much they end up paying? They end up paying PC. So the difference between full price PF and PC price setting, full price they're willing to pay at QS, and they actually end up paying price setting is non-pecuniary price. So what's the problem of this price setting? Let's say if there were no price setting, equilibrium price preview. Okay, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity. Consumer surplus is the area below demand curve, above equilibrium price, and enclosed by vertical axis. This is consumer surplus. The producer surplus is the area below equilibrium price, above supply curve, enclosed by vertical axis. So the whole social welfare is this big triangle area. Now, we have price ceiling. Price ceiling set the quantity supplied at the amount of products out there willing to be sold is QS is limited over here. Even though consumers want this much, they don't have this much. This is only amount offered available for transaction in the market. So quantity supply and PC, this is the prevailing price and this is the prevailing quantity. At this time, the consumer surplus is the area below demand curve, above price, prevailing price PC, and enclosed by the amount they can find. So this trapezoid is consumer surplus. Producer surplus is area above supply, below price, enclosed by vertical axis. So this trapezoid area is the summation of social welfare. Compared with the original one, nobody gets the triangle area. This is called social dead weight loss. Social dead weight loss. Okay, nobody get it. Consumer didn't get it. Producer didn't get it. Government didn't get it. It's just pure waste. That's a problem of a price setting. Generate lost social welfare and generate is chronic shortage. Now, let's see how to calculate price setting. Okay, price setting is only effective whenever it's set below equilibrium price. If price setting is set above equilibrium price, it's useless because the market won't go to price setting. They're just at equilibrium price. Price setting saying you cannot go anywhere higher than that, right? So it has to be lower than equilibrium price to be effective. So, for example, in summertime, the outside degree is 80. And if you want your HVAC to be working, be effective, you have to set it anywhere below 70, like below 80, like a 75, 72, to make the HVAC work. If you set anywhere above 80, which is 80 to 85, your HVAC won't work, right? So you can imagine this is like HVAC in summertime. Here is a quantity demand function, supply function, and we say the price is $1.50. At this price, consumers plug this into the demand function. Consumers are willing to purchase 7. Sellers are willing to offer 5. 5. So there's a difference of 2 units of shortage. Then remember which prevail, 5 prevail, because 5 is all the seller's gonna produce and offer. Even though the consumers want 7, there's no 7, there's only 5. Then what is a full price at units of 5? You need to plug this $5 5 units into quantity demanding function. So you say at 5 units, what is the full price consumers are willing to pay? So you make 5 equal to 10 minus 2p. Full means at the full price at the 5th unit. You can figure out $2.50. So which means at the 5th unit, the consumers are willing to pay $2.50, but they end up paying $1.50. So the difference to 250 minus 150, $1 is non-pecuniary price. So 250, 150 is the $1 is non-pecuniary price. It's not showing anywhere, but it is supposed to be like that. Then opposite of price setting, there's a price floor. Why do they have price floor? Price floor is the lower bottom line minimum price the market price can go. So it can fall anywhere above this level. You cannot fall below that. We also call it the minimum price. The most phenomenal example will be minimum wage. Minimum wage cannot go anywhere below. They're establishing price floor to protect poor suppliers, producers, or suppliers. Another example will be farmers in America, because the weather is unpredicted. Government think farmers are underrepresented, and America is a big agriculture country for export. Government need to support the agriculture sector, so they set a price floor for the agricultural products. So you cannot go anywhere below that. We don't see a huge fluctuation of the agricultural products. So for example, tomato price never go down to certain level, even though it is the tomato season. There's a price floor. Let's see what's the effect of price floor. So price floor is established to help or protect producers or suppliers. Market equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity, and the government think the equilibrium price is too low, so they set a higher price than that. It's price floor. At such a high price, consumers can afford a very limited amount. consumers' willing to purchase is very limited. At such a high price, um, attract a lot of resource producers onto the producing the products. So the quantity supply is very high. So a lot of products out there at high price unsold. This is called a surplus. What's a problem with surplus? Surplus, we say, who buy this surplus? Those agricultural products are perishable, right? You cannot just store forever. Generally speaking, government use their tax money to buy those surplus of products, and how much they're paying as the surplus multiply the price floor, this big uh, rectangle area. This is the cost of purchasing excess supply. In minimum wage part, minimum wage part will be so at such a high minimum wage, those restaurants are not able to afford. So they switch labor onto machine using robots to produce fast food and sell. But at such a high price, a lot of potential labor job candidates are out there hunting for job. So quantity supply is very high. And this surplus in job market will be very high unemployment, very high unemployment rate. Now, let's say example market with demand and supply function, and the price floor is supposed to be set higher than equilibrium price to help suppliers or producers. So you can imagine this as HVAC in wintertime. So for example, it's very cold out there. It's 40 degrees. And you want to warm up your house. You need to set the HVAC higher than 40 to be like a 65 or 70 something. You cannot set it lower than 40, 35. Your HVAC won't work, right? So it's higher than the outside. So at $3.50, you can plug this price floor onto demand function, figure out at such a high price, consumers can only afford 3 units. Unplugging to quantity supplied, you can see sellers are able to sell 9 units. They want to sell a lot. And result in this gap of 6 units of surplus unsold. Then government has to purchase those unsold products, 6 units at floor price, which is $21. They're going to use $21 of tax money to pay for this excess supply, quantity supply. Now, imagine we're in a static situation. Imagine demand supply doesn't change, so we do equilibrium analysis. But in real world, things changing all the time, resulting demand change, supply change, or the two of them change the same time. Here is a conclusion. If there's an increase in demand only, supply doesn't change, then equilibrium will increase, equilibrium quantity will increase. If there's a decrease in demand, equilibrium price quantity decrease. Here's an example of a change in demand. Suppose consumer incomes are projected to increase 2.5%, barely cover the inflation. A number of individuals over 25 years age will reach an all-time high by the end of next year. What is the impact on the rental car market? Generally speaking, assuming rental car is normal goods, and equilibrium price and quantity for now is $45 and 100,000 cars rented. Cars rented 100,000 times. And because of higher income, if it's assuming it's normal goods, demand will increase. At original $45, you can say the quantity demanded is very high, and the quantity supplied is still 100, resulting in 8,000 units of shortage. Shortage will push the sellers to increase their price. So eventually, the new equilibrium price and quantity is 49 and 104. So increase. The change in supply, increase in supply will decrease price and increase quantity. Decrease in supply will increase price and decrease quantity. Example will be, suppose that a bill before Congress would require all employers to provide health care to their workers. Provide health care means it's more costly to hire the same amount of workers. More costly is negative shock, supply decrease, or they pass their higher cost onto final consumers. So supply decrease, shift left-hand side. If initial P0 prevail, we will have lower quantity supplied and higher quantity demanded, resulting in shortage. Therefore, they increase the price and lower the quantity. P0 to P1 increase, P0 to Q0 to Q1 decrease. What about the two of them change at the same time? I have a more detailed discussion in my market equilibrium analysis, but here's a quick review of example. We have earthquake in Japan and decrease the supply for fermented rice used for sake wine. So those raw material to produce sake decrease. As negative shock on sake wine, on the supply. Then the stress caused by the earthquake led more people to consume sake. So demand increase, supply decrease. What do we do? So it really depends the magnitude and elasticity of curves. Imagine this initial demand and supply for Japanese sake wine market, price and quantity. Now, supply decrease, shift left-hand side, and the demand increase, shift right-hand side. And say compared against A, the new equilibrium at this situation, price increase, quantity increase. That's whenever demand increase dramatically, more dramatically than the decrease in supply. Alternatively, you can say if supply decrease more dramatically from S0 to supply 2, and the demand is the same, demand increase at demand 1, we can say at this situation, price increase, also increase, but the quantity decrease. So we can tell that one thing, whenever demand increase, supply decrease, the only conclusion we can get is price increase. How does quantity change is undetermined. We need more information, like the magnitude of a shift and elasticity of the curves. Alright, that's all I have for this video. Thank you for watching it. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one.